Let me say something controversial. LinkedIn ads don't work the way most teams expect them to. And that's exactly why companies waste thousands on them every month. LinkedIn has 1 billion users. You can target job titles, industries, seniority. On paper, it looks like the perfect B2B channel. But in reality, it's one of the easiest platforms to get wrong. Let's break this down. Imagine a B2B SaaS company, Acme Analytics. They sell marketing analytics software to mid-sized companies.
Hello, this is Angelica.
Hi, Angelica. Mike here, Senior Sales Specialist at Acme Analytics. Hope I'm not catching you at a bad time.
Please stop calling. It's been the 3rd time today.
They've got a head of growth,
I am Axel.
a performance marketer,
I am Sarah.
and a Slack channel called Pipeline Panic. And they decide it's time to scale LinkedIn ads. So here's where things start to break down. They go into Campaign Manager and build their audience. VP of Marketing, Head of Marketing, company size 200 to 1,000 employees. Looks perfect. In their head, this is like every person who can sign a deal. In reality, it's a mix of people with no budget, people who barely use LinkedIn, and someone who decided they're a CMO now. LinkedIn looks precise on paper, but in practice, you're targeting people who match a label, like job title or company size, and not necessarily the ones who are going to buy from you. It's still one of the best B2B targeting options available, but it's far from exact. And then you notice something else. So Acme tries to narrow it further, and LinkedIn still shows estimated reach 200,000 people. At that point, you're like, who are all these people? And it gets even weirder when you compare it across tools. Campaign Manager might show over 1 million people. Sales Navigator shows a fraction of that, and third-party tools land somewhere in between those two. So you start asking yourself, which one is actually right? And the answer is, none of them are precise. They're just different ways of grouping the same audience, which means you're not targeting a precise list of buyers, you're targeting the broad pool that the system works through. And that's exactly where things start getting expensive. So they launch campaigns, and yeah, LinkedIn is expensive. $2 or $3 per click, that's normal, but that's not really the problem. The problem is, it's expensive and very easy to get wrong. Because if you're even slightly off, the CPMs shoot up, the creative doesn't land, and no one engages. And you end up staring at the dashboard thinking,
we just spent $3,000. On what exactly?
And the strategy's off on top of that, you're not getting conversions either. Now it's not just frustrating, it's just not working anymore. So like most teams, they treat LinkedIn like Meta. You know, run ads, get clicks, generate leads, close deals. Maybe throw a book a demo CTA in there and hope for the best. But pretty quickly they realize,
yeah, this isn't working.
LinkedIn is not a direct response channel. It's a consideration channel. People aren't there to buy immediately. They're there to learn, compare, and build familiarity. So they start testing different approaches. Their first attempt is a pretty standard single image ad. Stock image, smiling people in a meeting room. Download our marketing analytics guide. And yeah, it performs exactly how you think it would. Then they change the message. Your attribution model is lying to you. Same format, completely different reaction. Suddenly, people stop scrolling like, hold on, what do you mean it's lying? From there, they start experimenting more. They test video, short and straight to the point. Why most B2B teams misread performance data. No intro, no build-up, just straight into it. And that's when people start going, okay, I feel personally attacked, which in this case is a good thing. Next, they try something else. Same message, but now it's posted from their head of marketing instead of the company page. Same words, same idea, just a different face. And suddenly, engagement goes up, because apparently we trust Carl from marketing more than a logo. And once that starts working, they go a step further. They test document ads, basically a short slide deck. 5 ways B2B teams mismeasure ROI. And instead of clicking away, people actually start going through it in the feed. No click needed, and engagement goes deeper. Now they want to scale. More creatives, more tests, more campaigns, and this is where things start to slow down. Because LinkedIn is just harder to work with. You try to make a quick change and suddenly you're clicking through 5 menus to find it. Reporting takes longer than it should. And then you run into the stuff that really slows you down. Like trying to duplicate a campaign and change the objective, which every other platform just lets you do, and LinkedIn somehow makes it complicated. Or building exclusion lists. You want to exclude customers, close lost deals, bad fit accounts, but keeping those lists updated inside LinkedIn, way more manual than it should be. And at some point, you're just sitting there thinking, why does this feel harder than it needs to be? And this is really what's going on underneath all this. LinkedIn just needs more to work with. It needs more data, more time, and more consistency than most people expect. And if Acme keeps narrowing the audience, running short campaigns, resetting things all the time, the system never really gets there. So they change how they approach it. They go broader on targeting. They let the system find the right people. They stop relying only on filters and let the message do the work. Instead of, download our white paper. They go with, your attribution model is lying to you. And that alone changes who pays attention. And pretty quickly, you see a pattern. The stuff that works isn't polished, generic content, it's the stuff with a clear point of view. And that's actually what gets attention. And over time, they realize the stop-start approach doesn't work. So they stop running these short, bursty campaigns and just stay on. Because LinkedIn needs time. Time to learn, optimize, and to build signal. And once they do that, things start to stabilize. Then they hit the hardest part. Measurement. They check performance. LinkedIn says, this is working. Google Analytics says, not really. So now they're in a meeting trying to explain that, which, as anyone who's been in one of those meetings knows, it's not a fun meeting to be in. So now they're stuck. Do we cut budget or double down? And the problem is, both decisions can be wrong. Because LinkedIn is usually influencing things much earlier in the journey. It's driving awareness, consideration, trust, long before someone actually converts. So if you're only looking at last click, you're gonna undervalue it almost every time. So if you go back to Acme, things only really started working once they stopped trying to force LinkedIn into a direct response box and instead focused on showing up consistently, having something to say, and staying visible over time. And that's when it clicked. So the takeaway is pretty simple. LinkedIn isn't broken, but a lot of the expectations around it are. If you treat it like a precision targeting tool, you'll probably be disappointed. If you treat it like a direct response channel, it's gonna feel expensive and underwhelming. But if you use it to stay visible, build familiarity, and influence the right people over time, that's when it actually starts working. If you're running LinkedIn ads right now, what's been the hardest part for you? Let me know in the comments. And subscribe to the channel. And subscribe to the channel. Subscribe to the channel! Subscribe to the channel!
Subscribe to the channel!